Do nothing after this and watch how everything falls into place. That's the promise. The shocking headline that stops your scroll, pulls you in, and makes your mind scream, wait, what? Imagine hearing that in a world where hustle culture tells you just the opposite: grind until you bleed. Yet here, right now, you're invited to consider something completely different, something profoundly counterintuitive. I'm going to take you on a journey, one that feels almost surreal, but it's rooted in ancient wisdom, modern science, and real life miracles. So before we go any further, make sure to hit subscribe, tap that notification bell, because everything we're about to explore is part of a powerful shift in how you see success, effort, and ease. Picture this: a small river flowing through a mountain valley. The current barely whispers, yet over centuries it carves through stone, strikingly strong without struggle. This is the essence of Wu Wei, the Taoist principle of non-doing or effortless action. Not laziness, not giving up, but acting in harmony with life instead of forcing outcomes. And it may sound mystical now, but you'll soon see it's far from wishful thinking. Now, here's the thing: when you chase desperately after a goal, when your energy pulses with anxiety and fear, you broadcast one message: lack. And lack has a strange power. It calls back more of itself. But when you step back, breathe, and trust that things are unfolding perfectly, even when they're not obvious, you shift your frequency. You whisper to the universe, I'm open, I'm aligned. And perhaps unbelievably, you begin to attract not through force, but through flow. Let me share a story, one that I've witnessed with my own eyes. A man named Marcus had poured his soul into his startup. Long days, sleepless nights, endless strategy meetings. He was a walking burnout. But one morning, in a daze, he paused. He booked a week off. He spent time with his kids. He played his guitar again, something he hadn't touched in years. He meditated. He let the world simply be. And then something wild happened. Without pushing, without hustling harder, business inquiries started trickling in. Then clients, then investors. In less than a month, he doubled his revenue without contacting a single lead. He later confessed, it felt like everything I'd been forcing just fell into place because I stopped forcing. This isn't an isolated story. It's a repeating echo across time and culture. But the science is equally profound. Neurologists have shown that stress hormones like cortisol not only cloud judgment, they literally narrow your brain's capacity to innovate. But when you're calm, trusting, centered, your brain can access clarity, creativity, and opportunity in ways that sheer effort never could. So what does it look like to do nothing? It's not about giving up. It's about strategic cessation, letting go of the frantic chase, trusting that your intention, once planted, will blossom in its own time. It's a paradox. The more you surrender, the more you begin to receive. If this resonates, if your soul is whispering, this feels right, even though it sounds crazy, then you're exactly where you need to be. That whisper is your next step. But before we journey deeper, click like on this video, because you're about to discover why doing less might just be the most powerful move you ever make. But let me ask you something personal. Have you ever clung so tightly to an outcome that your whole being was on edge? You prayed, you planned, you hustled, and yet nothing happened. Or worse, things fell apart. And then, perhaps in the quiet despair of surrender, you gave up for a moment, only to watch what you wanted show up anyway. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. There is a deeper law at work here, one older than any business strategy or modern motivational speech, and it has echoed through every major spiritual tradition in history. In Taoism, it's Wu Wei, the way of non-doing, of flowing with life instead of thrashing against it. Lao Tzu once wrote, "By doing nothing, everything is done." In Christianity, the same principle appears in the Psalms: "Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 46, verse 10. In that stillness, in the not striving, something greater can take over. A force, a field, a divine intelligence that moves in ways we can't engineer or predict. And in Buddhism, the practice of non-attachment is a path to enlightenment. The moment you stop clinging, you become free. And ironically, that's when abundance flows in. Do you see it now? Across continents, across centuries, across beliefs, this truth remains. The more you release, the more you receive. Now, don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean you sit on your couch, do nothing, expect money to rain from the sky. No, that's not surrender, that's escapism. What I'm talking about is a shift in energy. It's about setting your intention, then letting it go. It's about trusting that the universe, God, source, whatever you call it, knows how to deliver what's right when it's right. Let me tell you the story of Amina, a woman I met at a retreat in Bali. She had spent 10 years chasing clients, building a coaching business that barely kept her afloat. She was exhausted, bitter, ready to give up. One night, during a guided meditation, something inside her broke open. She realized she had been operating from fear all along, fear of not being enough, fear of being invisible. So she did the unthinkable. She stopped marketing. She stopped the hustle. For 30 days, she woke up, meditated, journaled, and simply allowed herself to feel abundant. She visualized already having what she wanted. She affirmed daily, I don't chase, I attract. What belongs to me simply finds me. And then emails began arriving. One client, then three, then invitations to podcasts, partnerships, interviews. In 6 months, she tripled her income without pushing. Now, did Amina take action? Yes, but it wasn't desperate or forced. It was inspired. It flowed from her alignment, not her anxiety. This is the key difference. Desperate action is loud, chaotic, and draining. Inspired action is quiet, effortless, and powerful. And you won't recognize inspired action unless you get still, unless you stop crowding your mind with the noise of shoulds and have-tos. That's the sacred space where magic happens. So how do you start living this way? First, cultivate presence. Every morning, before you touch your phone, before the world gets a hold of you, sit, breathe, feel your own energy, ask, what is real for me right now? That presence becomes your compass. Second, detach from outcome. Yes, set your goals, but then let them go. Don't strangle them with need. Release the when, the how, and the who. Just hold the feeling of what you want, freedom, joy, peace, and let the form take care of itself. Third, act when you're called. Sometimes surrender means sitting still. Other times it means making a bold move, but only when it feels aligned. Not out of panic, out of power. This is not passive. This is not weak. It is the highest form of trust. Now let me be real with you. Your ego will hate this. Your programming will resist this, because we've all been conditioned to believe if I'm not constantly doing, I'm falling behind. But here's the truth that may sting. Busyness is not progress. Overworking is not virtue. Control is not power. Stillness, real stillness, is a magnet. It says to the universe, I already have enough, I already am enough, and I trust more is on its way. When you can say that and mean it, doors you didn't even know existed will swing open. So if this is speaking to you, if your heart is beating a little faster, if your soul feels like it's remembering something ancient and true, then stay with me. Because in part 3, I'll guide you through what it really means to let go, how to spot when you're forcing versus flowing, and how to become the kind of person to whom life, love, and abundance simply gravitate. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Everything is about to fall into place, and not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped. There comes a moment in every journey where something subtle shifts, not outside, but within. You stop running, you stop forcing, you stop screaming into the wind, begging life to hear you. And in that sacred silence, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel held as if an invisible current has always been guiding you, and now you're finally letting it. That, my friend, is the doorway. When I first discovered this truth, I didn't believe it either. I had spent most of my life proving myself, climbing, pushing, controlling. I believed, like so many of us were taught, that success was a reward for suffering, that if I didn't hustle, I'd fall behind. But the universe doesn't speak in hustle. It speaks in harmony. And when I finally stopped gripping everything so tightly, life didn't fall apart. It fell into place. Let me tell you about Julian. Julian was a brilliant architect in New York City. For years, he worked day and night chasing recognition, awards, magazine features, big contracts. He burned through 2 marriages, countless friendships, and still felt empty. One day his doctor told him, if you don't slow down, your heart won't make it past 50. Something broke open in him. He took a sabbatical, moved to a quiet coastal town, and, for the first time in decades, did nothing. He watched the tide come in and out. He gardened, he slept, he listened to jazz, he let himself be without trying to become. And slowly his health returned. So did his joy. And then, as if the universe was waiting for him to align, a global eco-design firm offered him a partnership. He hadn't even applied. That's what happens when your energy becomes magnetic. When you are at peace, opportunity knocks without force. But maybe you're asking, how do I know when I'm truly letting go and not just avoiding? That's a sacred question. And here's what I've learned. When you let go from a place of trust, it feels like relief. When you avoid from a place of fear, it feels like guilt. Letting go is not escape, it is surrender. Surrender to the wisdom that life has always known the way. And this doesn't mean you abandon your dreams. No, your dreams are sacred, but the path to them may be quieter, softer, more surprising than you ever imagined. Let me be clear, you're still going to act, but the action will come from a place of inspiration, not anxiety. Imagine this. Instead of applying to 100 jobs in panic, you meditate, get clear on who you are, and one afternoon you're led to call someone you haven't spoken to in years. That call opens a door. Instead of forcing a relationship to work, you let go, tend to yourself, and months later, someone enters your life who matches your peace, not your chaos. Instead of grinding for clients every hour, you start creating from your heart, and those who need your light find you. This is the power of aligned stillness. And now I ask you, what if you let today be the day you stop chasing and start allowing? What if instead of praying with desperation, you prayed with certainty? What if instead of asking, why hasn't it happened yet? You whispered, thank you, I know it's already on the way, because that one shift from resistance to resonance changes everything. I want to leave you with this story. There was a monk named Tenzin who once said, the flower doesn't open by force, it opens when the sun says it's time. And so do we. So do our dreams. So does destiny. You are not here to fight life. You are here to dance with it. So today, stop, be still, do nothing, and watch what everything begins to do for you. Before you go, if something in this message touched you, pause and breathe it in. Don't rush away. Let it sink deeper. Then, like this video, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear. You don't have to fight for your life to work out. You just have to trust and let it. Your next miracle may be one surrender away, and it starts the moment you do nothing. Welcome to the stillness. Welcome home.